Welcome to the Willower Podcast. In this special Black History Month episode, we'll be featuring candid conversations with members of Team Aware and shedding light on the importance of advocacy and representation when providing substance abuse support to the Black community. Stay tuned for an enlightening discussion on breaking barriers and being a champion of change. Let's get started.
I'm your host, Brian Holzer, CEO of Aware Recovery Care. It is my privilege to be here today. We've done now, 4 episodes on the Well Aware podcast. On today's episode, we're focusing on an issue that intersects with both mental health and racial equality, and that is substance use disorder in the Black community. Joining me are members of our team here at Aware Recovery Care who work directly with clients and communities affected by substance use disorder. Together, we're going to explore the unique challenges and opportunities for supporting Black individuals on their journey to recovery. And I am so excited to have these 3 stars of Aware Recovery Care with me here today. Not only are they great at their job and incredibly wonderful colleagues to work with, they're also incredible human beings. And collectively across these 3 individuals, we have authors, we have artists, and we have poets. And so we're not only going to dive deep into their experience of Aware Recovery Care, their experience in the Black community, in particular how it intersects with substance use disorder, but I'd love to also give them a chance to talk about some of their interests, which are super interesting, and make them the great human beings that they are here at our company. So with that, I would like to welcome these 3 individuals and give them a chance to introduce themselves each. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity to be here. Again, my name is Wante Vanterpool. I am a licensed mental health counselor, certified addiction professional as well. In my role with Aware Recovery Care, I am the clinical outreach manager, which I love, right? Moving away from the direct care work, but getting into the communities and really connecting with individuals. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to do in my space, as far as even as a therapist, was recognizing that there's so many other resources, right? For individuals to be exposed to. And as a clinician, I was not exposed to that because I was so focused on working with the client that was in front of me. So being in a role of outreach, I get an opportunity to go out into the communities. And now I can see a lot more of the disparities that we always know about, right? The disparities in services and treatment, whether it's mental health, medical care, and things of that nature. But we see where some of those disparities are. We know that there's great services. Everyone should be afforded that opportunity to take advantage of these great services. And Aware Recovery Care has afforded me that opportunity to be out there to connect those individuals to services. So I'm happy to be here, man, and looking forward to the conversation.
It's great to have you, Wante, and you're a great representative of the Orlando region that we operate in. And maybe we'll turn to our newest member, Cassandra, who's been here, I think, all of 2 weeks. She is. So it would be good for you to introduce yourself. You're in the greater Atlanta region, and maybe talk about your role as a client outreach manager and what drew you to Aware Recovery Care as well.
Okay. Thank you again for having me. I'm really honored to be included in this conversation. Like he said, my name's Cassandra Yosis Bingaman, and I am new here with Aware in the region of the ATL, and we're excited to get Atlanta exposed and have access to Aware Recovery Care. For me, I'm really excited to get onto the other side of this work. I've been in direct care all my adult life. I started off in foster care, working with teenage girls in a therapeutic group home, moved on to residential treatment, and then I was working at a community organization, recovery organization, and you see so much. So for me, it's not just the disparities that I've heard of, it's the disparities that I've seen on a regular, everyday basis for over a decade. And I'm excited to be with Aware, and I'm excited that Aware is having this conversation because I think it's one that absolutely needs to be had. And I'm looking forward to how we can be the bridge to connect Black people specifically because of this conversation with the excellent care that every other human deserves. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for being here. And we're going to go from the ATL to CT, Connecticut, with Tariq, who's been here 3 years in the Connecticut area. Would love you to introduce yourself and talk about your role as a client recovery advisor. Tariq?
Sure. Like everybody else, it's an honor to be here. I've been with Aware for 3 years. and it has been amazing. I've been on this path of recovery since 2009. I got my bachelor's in science and human services, Springfield College. Something I strive and hold that dearly in my heart because um, it's I mean, it's all about humanhood for me at first. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm ready to chop it up and talk on this serious topic. And so yeah, thank you all for having me.
I appreciate it, and I know that you three won't hold back, and that's the type of conversation we're looking to have. So, as you both said, let's start chopping up by going right at it. Let's talk about breaking the stigma and building trust. Our organization, like I'm sure a lot of organizations, talks about building barriers and building trust with the Black community. I'm sure, like most organizations, we can do better. I think we're starting by trying to aim to do better. I'd love to hear from the three of you how we go about that. I mean, what are the key challenges to building trust and meeting first of all, understanding the unique needs and cultural factors of the Black community, and then working to meet those needs? Monte, why don't you start? You've been here 2 years, member of our Florida market. We've grown from 0 to almost 300, north of 300 clients served in the Florida area, and we obviously are nowhere near meeting that demand. What's been your experience with with our company building trust, and what can we do better to not only build trust but meet the needs of the challenges of the Black community?
Yeah. So, well, it's always a loaded question, right? Because there's never one answer to that. But what I will say is that Aware has done we have a great start, right? Because sometimes it's just what's facing. Oftentimes, like with the brochure, I remember when I first came on board, we had brochures. It just didn't reflect, it didn't reflect, it wouldn't have landed well, to say the least, in most communities, right? It just seemed like it was a service for someone else because it was not relatable to many people, right? And so we've changed the brochures, which is great. It was phenomenal having a brochure that just looks a little bit more inviting, right, for the families, services, and just says, "Hey, this is a service for everyone." One of the other things I recognize and I like about Aware is that, again, in this space of clinical outreach, what I've seen is not as many African American or Black business development reps, in this space particularly. In this space, and don't get me wrong, we see them and I would say it's unfortunate to a degree. Sometimes it's only in the nonprofit world, right? Where it just seems to be a struggle to get services and things of that nature. But to be the forward facing in respects to me being an African American male, Black male in this space, we tend to go where we're comfortable, right? So and I love that component. It's not as if so. We see mostly our colleagues are white business development reps. I don't believe that there's an intent not to go into the community, but as a human being, we go where we're comfortable, where we're invited to, where we feel more at ease. You know what I mean? So getting into those communities, this is the key to it, is being able to get into the communities. I believe that as an agency, we need to be invited into the communities. So by doing that, we go into the communities and not only say, hey, here's a service that you can take advantage of, but in our Black communities, we want to build trust. We want to build trust. We want to build a relationship because there's so many intergenerational things that occur that kind of corrodes that. So we want to go into an environment and be able to really connect with the individuals and first meet them where they are. And that just kind of coincides with what the theme of Aware is, right? Meeting a person where they are. So even when we go into those communities, we want to be a guest into the community. And I think that we've been doing a great job with that.
And unlike your role where you're out there finding new clients for Aware, Tariq is actually going to the homes, treating those clients. And you may already mention the fact, Tariq, if I heard you correctly, that you've only had the privilege of treating 6 Black patients or clients of ours in your 2 years. What can we do better to sort of destigmatize the care itself, and then obviously present our brand and product as a trusting model that will be embraced by the Black community?
Is a bridge. We're there for them. To give you an example, just recently, I have a client right now where this client requested to have an African American male or female to work with, and management called me in, and I just thought that was good that this individual wasn't turned away or anything. They said no problem, call me in. I've been working with this client for a while now, and I see progress being made. And as far as like the bridge, I mean, I would like to see like a social day, because see what happens is like Connecticut has a roundtable reentry where you have therapists, counselors, probation officers, parole officers, and people of the community sit together and focus on helping people find employment and housing. And it's not too much substance um, use disorder being spoken about there. And I would like to see someone from like Aware, appointed by client engagement, whoever can show up and like take and be involved in things, and like social day where we just open our doors more, and get to know the community, and just let them know they're welcome. And then, like I said, then we have that. I also know recovery coaches who I meet regularly. I see, because I'm on this path of recovery. I'm a person in recovery myself, and they be like, man, I get a lot of clients. I try to refer them over there to Aware, but they don't qualify because they don't have the right insurance. So it's like, I'm like, oh, because Aware American work is working. Aware's a miracle, and for a lot of people.
When we talk about stigma, and we talk about, I think Wante mentioned trauma or intergenerational trauma, would love your thoughts on how do we bridge the gap in terms of presenting our company in a way that we're engaged in the Black community. You tell me, I don't know how we do that if we don't we're going to shy away from historical trauma and intergenerational trauma within the Black community as a means to engagement within the communities, and then obviously delivering the great care that Tariq and Wante have mentioned. Would love your thoughts on the historical trauma or intergenerational trauma, and how we as a company can do better with meeting the needs of the Black communities so that we're able to offer our care model to those very communities we're serving.
I'm so glad. Perfect order, because I love what both of you guys mentioned. And in regard to the historical trauma, you brought up trust, Brian. And in regard to Black Americans and healthcare in general, you're going to have a huge amount of trust building, because you look at our history is things such as the Tuskegee experiment and the years and years of trust that's been broken by systems that are bigger than just Aware. Those are things that we have to actually come in and tackle. Even though we didn't do it, we have to be willing to go above and beyond to create person on person trust. That care coordinator team has to build trust, and you're gonna probably have to go beyond what you might have to go for another client or peer or however you call it, because there's in addition, now we're asking not only trust medical care and trust us to treat you with addiction that you've seen in your family for generations and generations, also let us come into your home. So now that's a whole other barrier, that now you're not even coming into our space, into the clinic or treatment center or residential center or whatever. We're asking to put our people into your home where you raise your kids. So that's a big, big deal. I don't think it's beyond what we can do. I think that we have people who work with Aware who are here for human beings. And so that connection is the opposite of sickness. But there may be times when we have to go above and beyond the call of duty to connect in a different way. And the methods would be, cultural competency. It's like a buzzword right now, but it can't be a buzzword out of Aware. It has to be real. And cultural competency on a whole different level. You're seeing a disparity if you go into any. And I'm from Atlanta, and I'm right in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County. So 95% of the people that I serve are Black Americans, and we can't offer them what we have to offer because we're dealing with chronic homelessness. So we have to think about that too.
I appreciate that, Cassandra. And we are using some big words here: trust, destigmatizing the situation, trauma, collaboration and partnership. And if these words are hollow, it's obviously not going to work for us here at Aware. We certainly can start by making sure our workforce represents the communities in which we are serving. And I think we are doing better, but have a ways to go to even do better beyond that. You started talking about, I would love Wante to jump in because you've been a pillar of the Orlando community. You started talking about collaboration and partnership with other Black leaders in the cities and the communities we serve. Mm-hmm. I'd love, and I know you're often cited as someone, you drive around with the Aware swag on your car to be a billboard for our company. I'd love to hear how you engage Black leaders and Black community leaders in the Orlando area as a means to engaging those leaders in our efforts to transform the way addiction care is delivered, not just in general, but in the Black communities we serve. I would love to hear your thoughts on how we can do better in that regard as well.
Yeah. So we thank you for that. And I just recently, actually, we on Friday, we had the Black Excellence. This is our second annual. We can actually say it's the second annual now, right? Because so it was a second annual Black Excellence networking event for professionals in the community. With this event that we did with the Black professionals in the community, it was, again, intentional to identify those individuals in the community as providing a service and not only let them know that we exist, but because something else that happens in our community, unfortunately, is that we can be in the same service, but when we talk about trust, it runs deep, so we don't even trust each other in some instances, right? So I want to create an opportunity in which we get everyone together. Everyone gets to know who's who, what's what in a safe environment, right? Not in a situation in which is just an educational component, but a safe, relaxed environment. People get to talking, having a good time. And then we start to make those connections with one another. And then from there, we start to support one another as well. So if we can be the conduit to say, well, because we have the capabilities and the resources, when we identify those providers in the community, let's be intentional about connecting with them and helping them move their marker. So if we can do for others, if we can be of service to others, then it comes back to us as well. And that's what I'll continue to do, just really, and there's also some of the real prominent individuals in the community. Quite literally, the mayor of Orange County told me he wanted to come to our event on Friday night, but he said he also wanted to keep his marriage intact because his wife was coming to town and he promised to take her to dinner. So he said that he wouldn't go to our event, but he needed to. He's been married 40 years. He said he wanted to keep that streak going. So he didn't come. But that's the connections that we have. People love what we do. They don't always understand it, but they love what we do, and they love to see that we're being inclusive.
We could do this. I could do this all day. We're going to wrap this up with a few more questions, and I'd love maybe Tariq to get one, and then Cassandra for you to get one to close us out here. For Tariq, you've been doing this now for 3 years for us. You've been welcomed in the homes of our clients. You're in our largest agency in Connecticut, our first agency that we launched Aware at almost 12 years ago. And you mentioned the importance of a recent experience where a Black client of ours requested a Black client recovery advisor, and you were able to meet the needs of that particular client. I'd love your perspective on how we increase the representation of Black professionals and advocates in the field. And maybe you can answer it one of two ways. How do we create more Tariqs?
Good question. Lovely question. I love it because I see, there's a lot of ways I can go with that. I'm thinking, just working with other Blacks out there in the community. I definitely feel like we're on the right path. Having these conversations, welcoming all, letting people know, we're here to help. You're welcome here for employment, treatment, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing, Brian. It's a beautiful thing, man. I'm glad to be part of this, man. Because, like I told you from the beginning, I'm a human service worker, and I've been on the path since June 3rd of 2009, man. And it's like, wow. It's just like it came coming working at Aware came full circle.
Well, thank you, and Cassandra, I've only known you a short time, but you're the ideal person to close us out here, and I'm not gonna restrict you too much with my final question. I mean, we've been able to touch on so many topics here from and it all kinds of gets back to trust. That's what I'm hearing. The ability to sort of embrace the Black community, whether it's with Black mental health professionals that we employ, or it's Black members of the community. It's going to take a village here to sort of get over the trust and intergenerational trauma that we've already talked about. You're the newest member of the AWARE team, and I know you've dedicated so much of your life to mental health and substance use disorder in the Georgia area. What are your final words on how we embrace the resilience, the strength, and the invaluable contributions of the Black community? And it's not just for AWARE. I mean, we've obviously got a societal crisis here with substance use disorder. It affects people of all colors. But what you've all touched upon is the added complexity in the Black community for all of the reasons we've already touched upon. What can AWARE do better? What can the mental health industry do better? What can you do in the Atlanta region in order to embrace the resiliency of the Black community so that we can get more members of the Black community into treatment and obviously deliver the level of treatment that leads to results that will encourage others to seek that same level of treatment?
That was a whole loaded question, but I'm going to do the very best that I can.
I know you will. You're going to do
All
great.
right. So for me, man, it's funny because we're brought to things such as this where you have to put what you do into words. And sometimes it's difficult to put into words, but it's not actually difficult to do. For me, it's natural. And it could be like Wante was saying, it's my environment. My whole environment is Black. Like the whole Atlanta AWARE team, except for one person that I know of, all Black. And so for me, what I think is continue to celebrate diversity, because so often we're so afraid that we're going to say the wrong thing, that we're going to do the wrong thing, that we just don't bother at all. Well, enough of that, because clearly look what that's done. That's done nothing but divide. So continue to celebrate diversity, continue to have difficult and challenging conversations, much like the conversation that we're having today. Continue to honor Black people, Black Americans, listen, this might sound away, but it is more difficult to even survive as a Black American than it is for us. So there's some honor that's due there just from walking into the front door of somebody's home. There is honor. Another thing is listen. We have to listen. We have to listen to the community. We have to listen to the people that we can't get to serve, that we can't serve. Listen there, because there's something for us there. It may not be directly related to what we're doing right now, but it's directly related to how we can do it in the future. So for me, the biggest thing is listening, cultural competency, like all of us have said today, representation. That's another one. It's like continue to send Tariq out and to send Wante out into the community, because it looks very different than you or I showing up in the community. And that's just, it is what it is. And we just have to figure out the tools that it's going to take for us to get there as a team. Together, we're here together. We're united. There's no question. But we're not asking about us internally. We're asking about us externally. And there's a whole world out there that won't be able to see us unless they bust through the door. So I say we've got a lot of solutions. Continue to have hard conversations. Continue to keep promises. Treat every single client that, even if we don't get the opportunity and the honor to serve them, that we treat them in such a way where we're going to get them the absolute best quality external referral that we possibly can, because you never know when it all comes back around and we're able to step on that welcome mat at their front door. So I think that's all I have. We could go on for years and years. The beat don't, on and on, and the beat don't stop till the break of dawn. But I think we have some work that we have to do outside of this. So we're just changing the world one day at a time, y'all. One household at a time.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. And thank you, Tariq and Wante. This has been a lot of fun talking with the three of you. You represent the very best of AWARE. We're so happy to have you. Cassandra, obviously being the newest member of the team. We've got someone 2 years and 3 years, and a cross-section and representation of the quality that we have out in the community and in the homes of the clients we serve. This brings us to the end of this episode of the Well Aware podcast. And as we celebrate Black History Month, this is a reminder of one of our missions at AWARE. We are all trying to strive, and we can do better every day, creating a future where every voice is heard, every story is valued and every person receives the care that they deserve. This is just one small effort to raise awareness on the Black community is yet another example of how we're trying to aim to do better to WARE. And we hope that's a reflection of how we're inspiring others in the mental health and substance use disorder arena to do the same. With that, thank you. Have a great day. And till next time, take care.
Thanks so much. Have a great evening.